Before we get started in Dharma talk, please join me in invoking the Buddha's name 3 times. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. So last week we started on the first of the 10 fetters, the samyojanas. And these fetters are the obstacles to our enlightenment. And as we eradicate these fetters, we move up the ladder of enlightenment levels. So if we recall, in kind of orthodox practice, there are 4 levels. The first 4 levels of enlightenment, of stream enter, Sotapadana, of Sakadagamin, once returner, Anagamin, non-returner, Arhat, which is a fully enlightened being or person. And the eradication of the 10 fetters, the first 3, enters you into the first level of enlightenment. The weakening of 3 and 4 is the second level. The eradication of 3 and 4 is the third level. And the eradication of the last 5 allows one to fully attain enlightenment. And after that, we have bodhisattva levels and Buddhahood, of course, but that's for 1,000,000 years in the future. Right now, we can worry on these 10. So, we discussed self-view, Sakaya Ditti, last week. I think it was last week. And kind of discussed slightly what that was and what it means in this case as a fetter, right? Which really quickly, self-view is the identification of ourselves, or self-identification, right, of our personality, who we think we are, who we want to be, we want others to see us, view us, etc., etc. So I won't go through that too much, but a subcategory of self-view is non-self, anatta, anatman, which is slightly different. Whereas self-view is more circumstantial, I guess. Non-self is experiential, something that we have to actually experience to attain. And self-view is kind of the internal view of things we have, whereas non-self is the everything else, right? It's kind of almost the, I always forget this word, the antidote. Non-self is the antidote to self-view. So anyway, so they're still similar, but one's kind of a micro and one's a macro for the most part. So it's non-self, which I don't think I put on the board. Just think of it as 1.1, 0.1.1. But anatman, non-self, right, is still connected to self-view, as in that it is still the tendency to think of oneself as this permanent, solid, unchanging me or mine, right? That the belief that all of our thoughts, our feelings, that our body, our habits, all these things we see as me or mine, that these are what creates me to be me. But in reality, they're all simply just a moving shifts of processes, right? Of processes, of causes and conditions is what they actually are. There's no kind of a solid mini person inside of you kind of running the show, right? We're not like that. What is Iron Man's core called? one of those things. We don't got one of those. But we can think of non-self or self-view as kind of like, think about the example of blasphemy as a flame. Right? If you look at a candle flame, it's constantly moving, it's constantly shifting, right? It's never the same thing twice, right? Or even look at a river. If we look at the flow of water in a river, we think, oh, this is the same river, the same water. But in reality, every microsecond that you see the water move, it's different water, right? And so ourselves is the same thing. It's constantly shifting, it's constantly changing. It's not a static thing. But of course, this doesn't mean that we don't exist, right? This is kind of the conclusions a lot of people come to when they read on non-self or listen to teachings on non-self. So it doesn't mean that we don't exist. It just means that we don't have this unchanging essence called me. So when we're able to see that, then we're able to, like I said before, hold things a little bit lightly and more lightly. We don't cling to things so tightly. We don't hold on to pride or fear or even suffering itself. Trying to decide how much I want to skip so I can get to the second one. Okay, I'm going to skip this. I made some new notes last night, so I'm just trying to reread them. So in both self-view and non-self, right, there's a sense of ownership that's rooted in this self-view, the belief that there's a solid, separate I. But if there's an I, then there's always a mine. And if there's a mine, then there's always something to lose. And if there's something to lose, then there's fear that comes with it. There's suffering that comes with it. There's craving that comes with it, right? Because if you have something or you believe in something that is mine or yours, I, me, or mine, then there's a act of possessiveness there. And so there's a fear of its loss. And it's that fear of loss that we can give the non-self title to sometimes. But if we're able to kind of really dig deep into that and see a little bit more deeply into that non-self view that we have, then the illusion of this self begins to loosen just a bit. So then we're able to see that body, we're able to see the feelings, we're able to see our thoughts that as they arise and fade, right, on their own, because you have no control over our thoughts, right? I said yesterday during our retreat that not even your thoughts are your own. If your thoughts are not even your own, then how is your body your own? How are your feelings your own? How are your perceptions your own? How are your mental formations your own, right? Because your thoughts occur because of external factors. You see something and you think about it. You eat something and you think about it. You see someone and you think about it. But none of these are actually you. So what are we holding on to? So this insight, once we have it, is able to kind of shift this relationship that we have to everything. So that way, then pleasure is enjoyed and not clung to. We can have pain, but not resist it. And we're able to, then all of our successes and failures are seen as just causes that arise and fade away, right? They're not reflections of a fixed me. Make sense? That way, non-self doesn't remove love or care, right? It removes possessiveness. Because we can still love deeply, but it's a love without chains. It's a love without attachment. It's a love that we don't have to cling to and hold on to so tightly. That way, if we truly look at it, non-self then is not nihilistic, as it may sound sometimes. It's clarity, it's freedom, because it shows that life is a flow and not something to cling to. right? It's freedom from the burden of carrying a self that doesn't even exist. And as we dig deeper into this, into anatta, anatman, non-self, right, we come to the conclusion that, not conclusion, sorry, we come to the seeing of a teaching, what we call the three characteristics, right? That our body, our thoughts, and our feelings and consciousness are impermanent, right? Anicca, that they're always changing, that they're always unstable, they're never the same. That everything is unsatisfying or suffering, in other words, right? That if there is suffering, then that means there cannot be lasting happiness in it. And then there's non-self, anatman, right? That things are not under our ultimate control. They're not truly yours. So that's that. A larger, there's more to it, which I'm not going to go to because we don't have time for that. But another aspect that comes with non-self, which would be point 1.2, is emptiness, shunyata. And though emptiness is the kind of conclusion of our practice, to me, it is somehow a much simpler, it's a much simpler teaching to explain non-self or self-view. You know, even when self-view or non-self is realized, emptiness to me is not. Emptiness is an easier explanation. And I think I said it last time, when we look at a car, right, we can take the emptiness of a car or explain emptiness via using a car. If we look at a car, we see a car, we know it's a car, it's a vehicle, it's just a mode of transportation. It's a car because we call it a car. We call it a Lexus, we call it a Toyota, we call it a Nissan, we call it whatever it is, right? But then the practice of emptiness is to look at everything that creates a car and why it creates the car, right? And so if we think about it and we ask ourselves, well, what does create the car? Well, the engine creates the car, the batteries create the car, the electronics may create the car, the wiring creates the car, the gasoline creates the car, right? It's all the non-car components, pieces, and elements of non-car that make up the car, right? So if you take these components, these elements out, even just one, right, like the battery, then at that point, is it still a car? If you take out the wiring, is it still a car? If you take out the engine, is it still a car? At what point does it cease to be a car? It was never a car. Right? Same thing with a flower. Look at a flower. When we see flowers, we're like, automatically, this is a flower. But in reality, this actually isn't a flower. It's not a flower at all. Because this flower is made up of non-flower elements and components. Heat from the sun, ground, soil, or water, and air, and nutrients. All these things is what actually makes up the flower. Again, just like the car, take any one of those components out and the flower wouldn't exist. Right? So there's a component of emptiness there. It's empty of true existence. It's emptiness of true reality. And we're exactly the same. Right? We spoke last time of the 5 skandhas, the 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. These are the components of what we call a person, right? Take any of one of those things out, are you still a person? If you have no form, are you a person? If you have no feelings or mind that's functioning, perceptions and consciousness, are you still a person? Right? At what point do you stop being a person? At what point does it stop being a flower? At what point does the car stop being a car? And so when we're able to see things like that, and of course it's difficult to look at every single thing and try to break down its components 24/7, it's impossible, obviously. But when we look at things in that way of things that we cling to or attach to or hold on to, and then apply non-self or apply the formula of non-self or emptiness to that, and we break it down and we see all the things, all the non-things that make the thing that we cling to or attach to, then we understand that this thing that we are attached or clinging to doesn't actually exist. And if it doesn't actually exist, then what are you attached to? What are you clinging on to? An idea. Yes? A label. Yes, sir.
I want to add that you can apply the same reasoning to the components also.
Yes. Yes. Because even if you break down soil also has its own components, and those components have its own components, and those components have more components. The list goes on and on and on. So if the list goes on and on and on, does this thing really exist? Right?
Even the most basic one, you can't do that. It depends on you seeing it.
Right.
Your perception of it.
Right. Beautiful. Yes.
Does everything just get more and more divisible like that, or do we ever reach an indivisible beginning of things?
Sounds very quantum mechanic-y.
Because if I look at all the components, like you said, oh, I get the soul, okay, I'm going to eventually I get down that small enough. Like you ever reach it? So far the only thing that we've done like start article, but there's never really divisible. Because figures that you want to, so you can go either way, like up or down. There's no true zero or no true infinity.
There's no end.
You need to see the thing as basic as it is. You need the perception of it.
Mm-hmm. If you don't have perception of something, then does it exist? Okay. So that's that. Okay, that's skeptical doubt. So we're going to move on to skeptical doubt, which is probably one of my favorite of the Fetters, but also one of the easiest to eradicate. That and the third fetter. But skeptical doubt here is also one of the 5 hindrances in meditation, right? 5 hindrances, if we remember from meditation classes, are sensual desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness, and doubt. But doubt here, as a fetter, skeptical doubt, is a little bit different from an inquiring doubt, right? Because an inquiring doubt is a genuine doubt or lack of clarity that we may have of something, right? And we seek the answers through questioning and through contemplation, and we find an answer. And so here we may have doubt about our practice, we may have doubt about the Dharma, we may have doubt about the teachings, right? But, which is fine, because the Buddha encouraged us to have doubt, right? He encouraged us to, or he told his disciples, if you don't believe my teachings, if you don't believe that this path is going to lead you to enlightenment, well then go do it for yourself and figure it out. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's not set in stone. This is not ultimate truth, right? Just because I said it, just because I am the Buddha, doesn't mean this is the final say, right? So he encouraged us to find out on our own, which was great, right? Because why wouldn't you? But skeptical doubt here relates to questions that we cannot answer, but we keep asking them. So basically, skeptical doubt here specifically is relating to questions skeptical doubt is unanswerable questions. I think Quang and I were talking the other day, it was like, what is right and wrong? What is right and wrong is a skeptical doubt question, because there is no answer. Right? The Buddha gives an example of someone being lost in a desert who doesn't have a map, right? And so you're questioning, am I going the right way? Is this the right thing to do? But you keep asking yourself the same question over and over again when there is no answer. It doesn't matter how many times you ask yourself, is this the right way? You don't know. And you won't know unless you have a map. Or someone pops up somewhere and be like, all right, this is the right way to go. So the antidote to skeptical doubt is the development of a quality called saddha, or faith, right? This isn't blind faith, right? Where we believe in something even though we don't necessarily have any direct experience with it. We just kind of believe it for the sake of belief, right? There's no such thing as that type of faith in Buddhism. A better translation of saddha actually is confidence based on knowledge. Because when you have knowledge about something, then you have confidence in it. And this is where we put our teaching into practice, right? I can't sit here and tell you, by eradicating these fetters, you're going to be enlightened, that you're going to be happier, right? I can tell you. I'm only telling you from my own experience how I feel and what I have experienced. But I'm not expecting you to believe me. I actually don't want you to believe me. I want you to look at me like I'm some fool up here just talking nonsense. Because I want you to go out there and experience for yourself. And then when you do, you're like, oh, okay, that crazy monk was actually not crazy after all. But we have constant doubt, or not constant doubt, some may have constant doubt in our practice, right? Because our practice, especially our meditation practice, is not easy. I mean, just look yesterday. Yesterday we had a half-day intensive meditation retreat. We sat for, 4 hours in total? We had meditation for 4 hours in the 6-hour period that we were here. That wasn't easy, right? For those of you that were here, it wasn't easy. It's not supposed to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would be enlightened. But it's not easy, which means that there's work that needs to be done. There's effort that needs to be made. There's actual I already said the word work. What's another word for work? There's actual I'm just going to reuse the word work. Yeah, you have to work for it, right? You have to work for it. But doubt and faith in our meditation practice always does arise and fade away constantly, because it depends on what we're using as criteria for success. Right? So yesterday, Stephanie brought up the question about intention. And is intention just a less fancy word for expectation, or more fancy word for expectation, or less dirty word for expectation, right? But intention, as I said, is a proclamation, a declaration, right? So every time you sit for meditation, you should have an intent of what you want this meditation to be. Not how it's going to be, or what you want to get out of it, because those are still expectations, right? You can't sit and say, I want to sit for 30 minutes and have a clear mind. That's not intention, that's an expectation. An intention, when we make a declaration when we sit, An intention is, I'm going to sit and meditate on my breath as an object of meditation for the entirety of this session. That's intent. Or I'm going to sit down and contemplate on non-self. That's the intent. Or I'm going to sit down and contemplate on whatever other topic. That's intent. But if you sit and say, I want to sit and be peaceful, and have a clear mind, and not be distracted, or be able to, even saying, I'm going to be even more diligent in being aware of distractions and wandering thoughts. Even that's an expectation. You have the word I and want. Reminds me of this quote. I don't know if it's a true Buddhist quote or not, but someone came to the Buddha and told the Buddha, Lord Buddha, I want happiness. And the Buddha told him, well, take out I and take out want, and all you're left with is happiness. Likewise, our meditation is the same. But as we progress with our practice, right, and you see and you overcome these doubts, because again, you're not going to be sitting for 1, 2, 3 sessions and find and have realizations or attainments, or you overcome whatever situation you're going through or want to go through. It's not going to be that easy. But if you continue on to the practice, if you continue on with the practice diligently and effectively, then over time, you will see or will have those realizations. And when I say realization, I'm not meaning like this giant aha firework moment, right? These are just simply, oh, I get it. This is causing me suffering, or this is causing me to think this way, which is erroneous, or this is truly an illusion, or this is truly an attachment, or this is what I'm actually clinging to. These are the types of realizations we have. And as we progress and those happen, then your doubts in the practice, or your doubt in the meditation begins to fade, right? So now instead of, is this working? The question is, you go from the question, is this working, to this worked. There's a quote here from the Buddhist, that the Buddha said that one will reach enlightenment if one carefully and patiently follows instructions. The only uncertainty is when. So experience also overcomes doubt about one's ability, and also doubt whether this is the right path. And once you realize for yourself the beautiful stages of the path, you discover that you are indeed capable of attaining the fruits of the path. So you have to be on, base conclusion of that, or summary of that is, when you're on the path, and you're walking the path, you know the path, and the path shows itself. You don't have to wonder where you're going. You don't have to ask where you're going. It's there. And depending on your motivation, I suppose, for your practice, you may achieve desires to want more. Actually, you won't achieve, you will. You will. Because once you have even just a small aha moment, you want more of it. Right? Yes, sir. It is a healthy desire. Right? Because I think, did we talk about it yesterday? Or was I dreaming? About good desires and bad desires. Right? Desire in itself is not necessarily bad. right? We talk about letting go of our desires in our practice all the time, but we are misunderstanding what letting go of desire actually means. Because in life, in reality, we actually do have to have desires. Because you have to have a desire to want a good life. You have to have a desire to want to do well in your occupation, be able to support yourself, to support your family, right? To want to be successful and healthy and this and that, right? These are desires that are necessary. What causes bad desires is what we do or what we try to do to achieve those desires, right? And the question we need to ask ourselves that would conclude whether a desire is good or bad is, will this bring harm to myself or to others? Because if it doesn't bring harm to yourself or to others, then we can, for the most part, conclude that this is an okay path to go on. But if it does bring harm to yourself or to others, then eventually it's going to bring harm to yourself or others. It may not be immediate, but somewhere down the line, it's going to potentially cause harm. But when we have that taste of in our practice, think of pleasure, for instance, right? When we know something brings us pleasure, we have a tendency to want more of it, right? We want more of that same pleasure and less of things that bring us displeasure. And so,
we're desiring pleasure.
I'm sorry?
So we desire pleasure for its own sake.
Right. But in the case of our practice, the desire here isn't to achieve something pleasurable. It's to achieve the freedom and letting go of whatever is causing us to suffer. So instead of desiring pleasure that's bringing us more stuff, the desire in our practice is to be able to find the freedom to let go of the stuff. So on one end, we're accumulating, or on the other end, it's the opposite of accumulating. Throwing out, right? Once you have that encouragement to attain more or get more, once you have that encouragement in your practice of recognizing or realizing that your practice is being fruitful, right? Then you have a deeper tendency to want to practice more, to want to know more, to learn more, to study more, to attain more. I took the dramatic turn of becoming a monk because of the fruits that I've tasted, right? So I got to a point I'm like, I can't go back. There's no way. There's no way I can live a normal life at this point with the realization in. There's no way. So yeah, I may have taken the dramatic turn of events that most would not. And of course, this isn't to say that everyone would feel the same or do the same, but I had no attachments to life. Say again? Oh, I'm the one with normal life? So you have an abnormal life? Perhaps. I would add that to have a life of suffering is abnormal. Actually, I take that back. Since life is suffering, I suppose suffering is normal, and the cessation of suffering is the abnormal. Since birth, being born straight away, right out of the womb, is suffering. Aging is suffering. Sickness is suffering. Dying is suffering. So that sounds like that's the normal. And we're the abnormal because we're trying to escape that cycle, which I think is okay. Okay. That is skeptical doubt. I will be gone for the next 5 weeks on a personal retreat. So I will not be here to continue on the rest of the Fetters, and I will not continue past the third Fetter at any point soon. But so we will continue with the Dhammapada upon my return. But I do want to at least quickly speak on the attachment to rites and rituals, since I've mentioned second and third Fetter are, for the most part, pretty easily eradicated. Eradicate sounds like such a big, fancy word. Easily let go, I should say that. Because attachment to rites and rituals, to me, in modern day, is pretty, at least in the West, isn't something that we necessarily participate in very much anymore, right? This was very much applicable during the Buddhist time, because again, during the Buddhist time, the main religion was Brahmanism, right? Where the entire practice or tradition was based on rites and rituals, right? Everything was a ritual, everything was a sacrifice. You wanted a new house, you go to a Brahmin priest and make a sacrifice, you got a new house. You have a marriage, sacrifice, ritual. You want a new job, sacrifice, ritual. So it was very much ingrained in the society at the time, right? And it was very much a big deal. Everything had to be a ritual. And so that's why it's a part of the Fetter. But nowadays, we're not as religious in our practices. But to kind of conclude what this is referring to, it's referring to the belief that rites and rituals in and of themselves will bring liberation. Right? That's what the Fetter is. It's not the act of a rite or ritual, but it's the belief that by doing this ritual will bring change, will bring happiness, will bring the eradication of suffering. That's the misbelief here, right? So if you have this idea that if I go to the temple and pray and chant and bow and make offerings, then my life is going to be much happier, you're stuck in this Fetter. If you go and you observe these rites and rituals as just tools, because that's what they are, right? Everything that we're doing right now and that we will be doing, our chanting, our bowing, right, our incense offering, all these are simply just tools to help direct our mind to what we are trying to accomplish. That's the true purpose of a ritual. It isn't some magical thing that's going to change something. And so it's the false belief, as Fetter, it's the false belief that the ritual itself will make a change, will bring will make a change. Yes, sir.
Is that related to the analogy of the boat and reaching the other shore, or am I just mixing up things here?
No. The boat and the other shore?
When you want to reach the other shore, you use a boat, and then you get rid of the boat as soon as you reach the other shore.
Oh, you can, well, if you're using the boat, if you're using the analogy of the boat as rites and rituals, then yeah, you can use that analogy. Yeah. Right. Well, in this case, the boat is pretty much everything. The boat in this analogy would be all this, actually. Right? Because the boat is it's life. The boat is life, right? And the other shore is the letting go of what we believe life should entail, life should have, all these things, all the defilements of our mind. And once we reach the other shore, an unenlightened person will take that boat with them, thinking that they're going to use it again, that they need it again. In reality, all you're doing is carrying a heavy boat everywhere on land where you don't need it. But instead, we should just let it go, let it sit on the shore, or give it to somebody else so they can use it. Right? It's simply a tool. The boat is a tool. So that's a very simplified version of rites and rituals. This can even, I have this highlighted, so I must have thought this was important. It can also refer to, or seeing even our precepts as something to be held onto as rites for rites and rituals, right? Because there can be a tendency that precepts of morality may be considered as a means to an end rather than an end in itself, as it is the first of the 3 training stages of the Eightfold Path, right? The Eightfold Path can be categorized in 3 subcategories of morality, concentration, and wisdom. And so if we take or believe the precepts to be something that is also unchanging, and we hold on to them and saying we have to abide by these precepts 100%. We cannot deviate from them at all. We cannot change them. We cannot see them or look into them any more than what they say on a superficial level. Well, that's untrue, because also the Buddha told us that the precepts can be changed. The precepts can be adjusted according to time and place of when and where the practice is at. So we already have, historically, throughout centuries, that precepts have been added or modified, right? At least monastic precepts is what I'm referring to, because monastic precepts are much more than just your typical 5 precepts, right? The 5 main precepts are to avoid taking life, to avoid stealing, to avoid sexual misconduct, to avoid lying, and to avoid intoxicants. But the monastic precepts for monks is 250, and for nuns is 327 precepts. And these are the ones that have a danger for the category of rites and rituals, thinking that a monk or nun have to cling to these as ultimate truth. And in reality, they too are just guidelines. Precepts themselves are just guidelines too. They're not laws. They're telling you, if you do this, you're more likely to have a freer mind, a better life, a happier life. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Last minute questions, concerns, emotional outbursts. Yes, ma'am.
Does the Catholic religious base the attachment to rights and
In the context of a fetter, yes, but to your, but it can also, but it can also be something mundane too, right? Because we have rites and rituals every day, routines, right? Our routines can be a ritual. Yeah, is that what you're leading to? Right. Right. So we have routines that we do every day, or not maybe every day, but we have routines in life where we do things to make us feel better. Yeah. Right. Having to have a cup of coffee every morning is a rite and ritual, right?
Well, you can really like the things can extend it to like yesterday the person being on the I should do this for this community and go against this community. So this versus this. So we don't want to be against a particular company or particular. So it can be applied in really back to
right.
So
So that will also like be okay, this religion or this community or this has to like not that. So this is that's the same thing. So we don't need to see like divide things like that.
Right.
And my question goes back to the skeptical doubt. I think skepticism doubt is similar question related to the nirvana, right? So those are related to get to the point like we are little skeptical in like it's almost impossible, right?
Right. There's no answer.
Yeah, there is no answer. We don't know how we can get a weekend. That's what the doubt is.
It's trying to find an answer to a question that doesn't exist, right? And so I mentioned that you can ask all the questions, the Buddha tells us by following the Eightfold Path, right? By achieving the Four Noble Truths in the Eightfold Path, you're guaranteed to have enlightenment. You're guaranteed to eventually get enlightenment. The question isn't how, now it's just when, right? And so it's, but on the other hand of that, skeptical down here is also asking yourself, will this work for me? Will the Eightfold Path work? Well, until you do it, you won't ever know. But you keep asking yourself, what if I meditate? If I meditate, will I be happier? Will I attain enlightenment? Will I eradicate the fetters? Right? So you're doubting if meditation would work, but you never actually do meditation. So that's skeptical doubt, right? It's asking the teaching, does this teaching work? Is this teaching correct? Is this teaching true?
You want to know before you even start.
Right.
You want to see what's in the book before you can buy it.
Right. You're trying to what you're trying to do is get answers to questions you don't have yet.
When we doubt, we're closing our mind, right, to possibilities. As long as we're doubting, we can't see or feel the possibilities there.
The doubt is like 50-50. We always make it possible, a skeptical thought is always impossible. It's not going to happen. Oh, like, yeah, we can do this. This is going to be too long.
Right. Yes.
It's almost like a negative thought.
Yes, sir. Oh, okay. Go for it. Yes. Well, not in that order. In order of categories, yes. So 1 through 3 could be 3, 2, 1, 1, 3, 2, blah, 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 right? And so, okay, put them together. So 1 and 3 go together, 4 and 5 go together, and 6 through 10 go together. But yeah, the eradication can come in any order, but it has to be in that section, in the same section. So you can eradicate attachment to rites and rituals today, and eradicate self-view tomorrow, and eradicate doubt. Correct. Cool. All right. Otherwise.
Is it necessary to share this with other people? For example, a teacher. Like, is it necessary for me, other than me realizing it, let's say in a couple of years, hey, I did this. Or should it be through another person that confirms you attain it?
For you to talk about it or teach it? Orthodox?
Do it alone, or should you have someone actually tell you, hey, you just did it?
Well, orthodoxically, we cannot you should not come to the conclusion that I have attained stream enterer on your own, because that's just another form of self-view, non-self, right? You're saying I've attained.
Or even conceit.
Right, because conceit here literally just means comparison. You're comparing, right? There's a judgment. But orthodoxically, only another enlightened person can confirm an enlightenment.
How do we do it if we're not living in a monastery?
You don't have to live in a monastery. You can go out and find yourself an enlightened teacher.
So easy.
So easy, right? Only so if you're only enlightened person can confirm another enlightened person. Enlightened. Yes. Good? Does that answer your question? Do whatever you want. I would not. This isn't something that I came to easily wanting to teach. It is, I mean, even my book is called Higher Teachings, right? Like this is a pretty up there level. But I've told you when I come back, I'm not going to proceed because I can't confirm for myself the remaining of the fetters, right? But I say that I give you the teaching of the first three at least because the first three are very much doable for all of you. Being enlightened to the first level of enlightenment of Sotapadana, of stream enterer, it is very much achievable in this lifetime, right here, right now. So I can do that for you, but I can't go beyond that. No, absolutely not.
What was the question?
He was saying sensual pleasure is easy to eradicate, and unfortunately it is not. It's easy to recognize and to see, right? Because I can tell you, I have sensual desire every single day. I know it, right? I know it. And when something happens, correct, yes. But it's also the ability to not even have the desire in the first place. that's the difficulty part. Okay, please join me in invoking the Buddha's name 3 times. We will transfer the merit and go to chanting. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha Namo Shakyamuni Buddha Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. For any positive karmic action we've accumulated here today, we wish to transfer the merits to all sentient beings and wish them full alignment. Namo Shakyamuni. Page 1. Sense in the censer now is burning all the Dharma realm in every place, auspicious clouds appearing, our sincere intention thus fulfilling, as all Buddhas now show their perfect body, homage to the incense cloud canopy, Bodhisattva and great Bodhisattvas. Gratitude we offer this incense to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas throughout space and time. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting our careful efforts, our wholehearted mindful, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Wish to the eternally abiding Buddhas, the supreme Dharma and sagely Sangha throughout the Dharma realm and the realm of empties and 3 periods of time. To the fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha Maitreya, honored future Buddha Manjushri, great wisdom Bodhisattva, universal great conduct Bodhisattva, all Dharma guarding Deva Bodhisattvas, and the glorious mountain assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. To Amitabha Buddha in the land of ultimate bliss, Avalokiteshvara, great compassion, Bodhisattva, great strength, Bodhisattva, earth store, great vow, Bodhisattva, and the assembly of great pure sea light, Bodhisattva. unsurpassed, profound, and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in hundreds of millions of eons. I now see and hear it, receive and uphold it, and I vow to fathom the Tathagata's true me. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Pilgrim, briefly in this world I am grateful and joyful to hear the Lotus Sutra. How hard to be born a human again, but I might hope to hear once more the Lotus Sutra. The Buddha moon is hid in the sun of Maitreya, not yet arisen in the long night's darkness. In between only the Lotus Sutra sheds its light, the wonderful Dharma of the Lotus Sutra. Whoever copies it, reads it, lives it, they say will be called preacher of the fivefold Dharma, with his 6 roots cleansed in death. He who chants the Lotus Sutra is guarded by a heavenly host. He wanders the world without fear like a lion king. Namo Sadhan Pundarika Sutra, Namo Sadharma Pundarika Sutra, Namo Sadharma Pundarika Sutra. Let's go to page 41. That time the world-honored one, having finished reciting these verses, made an announcement to the great assembly, speaking in these words. I announce this to the monks when I employ Buddha I to observe Kashyapa. Here I see that in a future exists after innumerable kalpas, he will be able to attain future existences. He will offer alms and enter the presence of 3,000 billion Buddhas, world honored ones. For the sake of the Buddha wisdom, he will carry out Brahma practices strictly and will offer alms to the unexcelled ones, the most of 2-legged beings. After he has done so and has practiced all the unsurpassed types of wisdom in his final incarnation, he will be able to become a Buddha. His land will be pure and clean, the ground of lapis lazuli. Many jewel trees will line the roadsides with golden rows, and those who see it will rejoice. It will constantly emit a pleasing fragrance, with heaps of rare flowers scattered around, and many kinds of strange and wonderful things for its adornment. The land will be level This Buddha will have a lifespan of 12 small kalpas. His correct law will endure in the world for 20 small kalpas, and his counterfeit law for 20 small kalpas. Like bright world honored one will be of this description. At the time the world honored one continued to saying, "You multitude of monks, I now announce to you, of you with a single mind should hear what I say. My major disciple Subhuti is destined to become a Buddha with the title rare form. He will belong to countless tens of thousands and billions of Buddhas. By following the practices of the Buddhas, he will gradually fulfill the great, and in his final incarnation will acquire the 32 features in that Buddha's law. Will be many bodhisattvas, all of them with keen capacities, turning the wheel of non-regression. That land will constantly be adorned with bodhisattvas. A multitude of voice hearers will be beyond calculation, all gaining the 3 understandings and exercising the 6 transcendental power. They will dwell in the 8 emancipations and possess great authority and virtue. The Buddha span of 12 small kalpas, his correct law will endure in the world for 20 small kalpas, and his counterfeit law for 20 small kalpas. At the time the world honored one continued to speak, say, "You multitude of monks, listen, all of you with a single mind, for in speak there is nothing that departs from the truth. Katyana here will give various kinds of fine and wonderful articles as offerings to the Buddhas, and after the Buddhas have entered extinction, he will raise 7 jewel towers and present flowers and incense as offerings to the relics, and in his final incarnation, Buddha wisdom and achievement, partial and correct enlightenment. His land will be pure and clean, and he will save innumerable 10,000s of millions of living beings, and will receive offer from all the 10 directions. This Buddha's brilliance no one will be able. Title will be Jumbo, great light bodhisattvas and voice hearers, cutting off all forms of existence, countless and immeasurable in number, will adorn his land. At the time the world honored one continued to speak, saying, "This disciple of the great Moggallana, when he has cast off his present body, will be able to see 8,210,000 million world honored ones, and for the sake of the Buddha way will offer alms, honor and reverence them where these Buddhas are. He will constantly carry out Brahma practice, and for immeasurable kalpas will uphold and embrace the Buddha's law. When these Buddhas have passed into extinction, he will raise 7 jewel towers with golden implements to mark the spot for all time, and flowers, incense, and music presented as offerings in the real of the Buddha. Step by step he will fulfill all the duties of the Bodhisattva way in endless land. Mind delight will be able to become a Buddha named Dhamma. Patra, sandalwood, fragrance. This Buddha's lifespan will be 24 kalpas, constantly for the sake of heavenly and human beings. He will expound the Buddha way, voice hearers innumerable as Ganges, with these 3 understandings and 6 transcendental powers, will display great authority and virtue. Countless bodhisattvas is correct, law will endure for 40 small kalpas, and his counterfeit law will do. His disciples fully endowed with dignity and virtue, number 500, and everyone will receive such a prophet. In a future existence, all will be able to attain Buddhahood. Chapter 7, the parable of the phantom city. At the time the world on earth addressed the assembly and said, I will employ an expedient means to lead you into wisdom. Because of these earlier causes and conditions, I now preach the Lotus Sutra. I will cause you to enter the Buddha. Be attentive and harbor no fear. Suppose there was a stressy bad road in a remote wasteland with many harmful beasts, a place moreover without water or grass. A group of countless thousands and 10,000s wanted to pass over this street, but the road was very long and far stretching, extending 500 yojanas. At this time there was a leader, well informed, possessing wisdom of clear understanding and determined mind, capable of saving endangered persons from manifold difficulties. The members of the group were all weary and disheartened and said to their lead, we are now exhausted with fatigue and wish at this point to turn around and go back. The leader thought to himself, these people are truly pitiful. Why do they wish to turn back and miss a many treasures? The time he thought of an expedient means, deciding to exercise his transcendental powers, he conjured up a great walled city and adorned its mansions, surrounding them with gardens and channels of flowing water, ponds and lakes with double gates and tall towers and pavilions, all filled with men and women. As soon as he had created this illusion, he comforted the group, saying, have no fear, you can enter this city. And each amused himself as he pleases. When the people had entered the city, they were all overjoyed in heart, all had a feeling of ease and tranquility, telling themselves that they had been saved. When the leader knew they were rested, he called them together and announced, now you must push forward. This is not more than a phantom city. I saw that you were weary and exhausted and wanted to turn back in mid-journey. Therefore I use the power of expedient means to conjure up this city for the moment. Now you must press forward diligently, so that together you may reach the place where the treasure. I too, like being as leader to all beings, I see the seekers of the way growing disheartened in mid-journey, unable to pass over the steep road of birth and death and earthly desires. And there I use the power of expedient means and preach nirvana to provide them with rest, saying, your sufferings are extinguished, you have carried out all there is to be. When I know they have reached nirvana and all have attained the stage of Arhat, then I call the great assembly together and preach the true law for them. The Buddhas, through the power of expedient means, make distinctions and preach three vehicles, but there is only the single Buddha vehicle. The other two nirvanas are preached to provide a resting place. Now I expound the truth for you. What you have attained is not extinction for the sake. The wisdom of the Buddha, you must expand great effort and diligence. If you gain enlightenment in the law of the Buddha with its comprehensive wisdom and 10 powers, and are endowed with the 32 features, then this will be true extinction. The Buddhas in their city as leaders preach nirvana to provide a rest, but when they page 171. Tab 9. Heart of the Prajnaparamita, the Bodhisattva Avalokita, while moving in the deep course of Prajnaparamita, shed light on the five skandhas and found them equally empty. After this penetration, he overcame ill-beingness, and Shariputra, form is emptiness, emptiness is form, form is other than emptiness, emptiness is not other than form. The same is true with feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Listen, Shariputra, all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They are neither produced nor destroyed, neither defiled nor immaculate, neither increasing nor decreasing. Therefore, in emptiness there is neither form nor feelings, no perceptions nor mental formations nor consciousness, no eye or ear or nose or tongue or body or mind, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no object of mind, no realms of elements, no interdependent origins, and no extinction of no ill-being, no cause of ill-being, no end of ill-being, and no path, no understanding, no attainment, because there is no attainment. The Bodhisattvas grounded in Prajnaparamita find no obstacle. Minds having no obstacles, they overcome fear, liberating themselves forever from illusion and realizing perfect nirvana. All Buddhas in the past, present, and future arrive at Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. For one should know that perfect understanding is the highest mantra, the unequaled mantra, the destroyer of ill-being, the incorruptible truth. The mantra of Prajnaparamita should therefore be proclaimed. Gate Gate Pada Gate Pada Samgate Bodhi Swaha. Gate Gate Pada Gate Pada Samgate Bodhi Swaha. Gate Gate Pada Gate Pada Samgate Bodhi Swaha. Jinn beings are limitless, I vow to afflictions are endless, I vow to eradicate them. Teachings are infinite, I vow to learn them. Buddhahood is supreme, I vow to attain it. I vow that from now till the end of my life and in all future lives, until I attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, that I will help all sentient beings in all realms of existence and their suffering. Namo Buddhas, come one worthy of offerings, a proper and universal knowledge, perfect in understanding and skillful in leaving the world through liberation, perfect and complete understanding of all worldly dharma, unsurpassed, night-taming hero, teacher of gods and people, Buddha, the world-honored one. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Namo Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Namo Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Namo Mahasamaprapta Bodhisattva, Namo Mahasamaprapta Bodhisattva, Namo Mahasamaprapta Bodhisattva, Namo Shiti Garbha Bodhisattva, Namo Shiti Garbha Refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way. In this life I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and of love. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. In the refuge of Buddha, I clearly see the path of light and beauty. In the world dwelling in the refuge of Dharma, I learn to open many doors on the path of transformation. Dwelling in the refuge of Sangha, shining light thus supports me, keeping my practice free of obstruction. Refuge in the Buddha, in myself I aspire to help all people recognize their own awakened nature, realizing the mind of love, taking refuge in the Dharma. In myself I aspire to help all people fully master the ways of practice and walk together on the path of liberation, taking refuge in the Sangha. In myself I aspire to help all people full communities to embrace all beings and support their transformation. Citing the sutras, practicing the way of awareness gives rise to benefits without limits. We vow to share the fruits with all beings. We vow to offer tribute to parents, teachers, friends, and numerous beings who give guidance and support along